Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is Thursday, November 7th, I think. Feels like we haven't done this in like a month, but it's really just been a week. We missed one episode, and I feel like we need to.
So we have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, oh my God! Do we ever? And that's without the election. We got a lot going on. Chuck McIntyre, Matt Roy on tap for you. Chuck, final day of TNL, first Thursday in November. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, but also the fact that once again here we are. It seemed like it was just yesterday we were talking about, can you believe TNL's about to start? And here we are. Can you believe TNL's about to end?
Literally, yeah. Week 11 of high school football, week 11 of college football coming up. Is it week 10 of NFL? Yeah, week 10 of the NFL. I don't know. Things are merging together. Second week of the NBA. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff right now, but we're here to recap a lot of it before we get started. Want to remind you all, subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4, Fox SA. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. That'll help us out a lot. A whole lot of stuff has happened since we last spoke. So the Spurs were 1-3 when we were last here. They're now 3-5 overall, 2-2 over the last week. Last night got destroyed by the Rockets. They were playing them for the third time in 8 games, which is just a weird scheduling snafu.
Especially if you're playing them twice in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly. So you've basically played them 5 times over the last month and a half. So I'm sure that this break from each other is well-deserved and well-wanted, since Jeremy Sochan keeps saying F the Rockets. Yes. So speaking of Jeremy broke his thumb. He's going to be out for probably a month or two. He has a similar injury to what Chris Paul had last year. And Chris Paul, I believe, ended up missing 21 games. So we'll talk about that. And then Coach Pop, not roaming the sidelines, came out this week that he has an undisclosed illness. We have a little bit of information on that, not too much. Does sound pretty concerning knowing his history with different illnesses, I'll just say. Missing a few games here and there because of his health. So never good, especially when you're his age. I'm not saying he's super old or anything, but he's not young. And so it's never good when that kind of stuff happens for him. So we'll talk about that. On the Cowboys front, they fell to 3-5. Big shocker there. Dak got hurt, though, which is probably the worst thing that came out of this past Sunday. He's likely to go on the IR. I saw a report that he might have season-ending surgery because of tearing his hamstring partially off the bone. I believe it was Tyron Smith who had a similar injury, but he tore a full effusion, I think is what they're calling it, of his hamstring off of the bone. So obviously that's way worse. This is just a partial. We'll talk about that. CeeDee Lamb got hurt. He sprained his AC joint. Just a bad day for the Cowboys on Sunday. And then they made a trade on Tuesday for a second-round receiver who couldn't make it on the worst team in the NFL. But, that's besides the point. Plus, we'll get into our TNL Top 10 and our TNL matchup of the week between Johnson and Clark, which will be our last TNL matchup. We'll do TNL Top 10 for a couple more weeks and do High School Hype Squad for a couple more weeks as the high school season falls to a conclusion. We got a lot on the plate here. I do have trivia for you, though, which I know you love.
Okay, hit me with it.
We'll start with trivia.
I'm literally walking into this one blind.
Yeah, I pulled this one straight out of my ass. So Victor Wembanyama is 7th in Spurs history in triple doubles. He has 2. There's 9 players tied with 1. Who is first? Who leads the Spurs in their history of triple doubles?
This has got to be a trick question.
Why?
I mean, you just assume Tim Duncan, right?
I'm going to assume Tim, but maybe Dave.
I don't know. It just seems like it's too easy.
For triple doubles?
Who's the one Spur that has a quadruple double, though?
Triple double.
That's
triple doubles. There's 2 Spurs with a quadruple double.
For the Spurs?
I believe there's 2.
Okay.
That's David Robinson and
Alvin Robertson.
Yes.
I was at that game that he did it. I think it was against Phoenix. I think I was at that game. Don't hold me to that, y'all. Never. I'm sorry that came out.
He doesn't remember. He doesn't remember.
Yes.
He doesn't remember.
Okay.
A lot of things.
I think it was Alvin Robertson against Phoenix. They got destroyed, and everybody was walking out of the gym thinking, "God, what a bad game by the Spurs that night." And then the next day, you found out. At the time, they were saying that Alvin Robertson, that was the first quadruple double in the history of the NBA. I think they backtracked off of that, and then somebody did some research, and I guess Oscar Robertson had done some too.
I believe there's been 3. There's been 3. 2 of them have been by the Spurs. So, and Wemby will probably be the next one. But triple doubles. I'll give you a hint by saying that it's 17 is who is the number that leads it. 17 triple-doubles in their career with the Spurs.
I just looked it up and it surprised the crap out of me.
So it's not
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's a surprising number and a surprising name. It's DeJounte Murray.
Really?
DeJounte Murray leads the Spurs.
You know he had one.
Yeah, right?
DeJounte Murray
I didn't even know he was on the team.
he leads the Spurs in their history with 17 triple-doubles. You have it in front of you. Who has 14? 14's right below him, right?
David.
David has 14. Give me the top 5 real quick.
So it's DeJounte, David, Alvin Robinson, Johnny Moore, then Tim Duncan.
Got it. And
Trey,
then it goes
Trey
down
Jones.
to
Trey Jones with 3.
Hey, there you go. And then it goes down into a big list of like one with 2, and then there's like 9 people with 1. So there hasn't been a lot of triple doubles, or a lot of people with triple doubles. But Wemby's are already 7th on the list with 2. I'm sure he will surpass this at some point. So let's get to some Spurs news. So we have a lot of it. We're going to start big picture first. We're going to start with Pop because to me that's the biggest thing to talk about here. Obviously, this happened on Monday. We weren't here on Monday. Monday would have been a great day to have a podcast, but there was an election going on.
Well, it actually happened over the weekend, last weekend.
Yeah, it happened when he left the game or didn't coach the game on Saturday, but the news came out that he would be off the sidelines for an indefinite period of time on Monday or Sunday night or whatever it was. So what are your thoughts on it? Obviously, it's concerning when a 70-some-odd-year-old coach has an illness and isn't able to be on the sidelines due to his health.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to really talk about this because, I heard something from somebody, but it was third hand. And, out of respect for Pop, the organization, and for, OSHA and everything else that's involved when you have stuff like this and when there's not, when stuff comes out. I don't know. I mean, I just hope he gets better, and I hope he gets better quickly. I mean, obviously, that's where I think most people's concern is. And to other reports or what's been out there or anything else, I really don't want to comment because I don't know if everything that's come out is necessarily 100% been A, verified, or B, true, or B, somebody trying to get you off the narrative going one way or the other. I don't want to make this any bigger than what it is. And again, I think like everybody else, you're pulling for Greg Popovich to have healing and, be back on the sidelines soon.
Yeah, I'll just take it from what we have reported here as a station and from Don, who says that he spoke to a source that says Pop is okay. It's something that has been dealing with before, so it's going to be fine. However, Mitch Johnson has also spoken, the interim coach, about he's talked to Pop. Pop's doing okay. It's going to be business as usual, all that stuff. So we can take that for how it is. That's what the facts of the situation are, is that Pop is sick. He's going to be okay. He's out for an indefinite period of time. We can take it for what's going to be on the court as how does this affect the team with not having Coach Pop on the sidelines for an undisclosed amount of time, having Mitch Johnson there filling in for him. What effect do you think that has on the guys on the court, which in this young team, which could use that kind of leadership?
Yeah, I think the dynamic changes, obviously, right? You have a guy who's won 5 NBA titles that's in the locker room every day, and you're looking at him for guidance or how to handle things in a certain situation. And because of what he's been able to achieve, that would immediately make an impact on everybody. I'm sure it even does on Chris Paul. Like, the guy's been there, done that many, many times. So, I think a lot of players are going to have to, find some of that stuff from within. And then obviously too, you've got a young coach that's trying to figure some of this out too, and also has been put in a situation that, there needs to be some grace, you would think, at some point, right? I mean, he's seeing things sitting in the hot seat for the very first time. And so I just, I think you're right. There are many layers to this in a lot of different ways. And, wins and losses, of course, they're important. That's the goal every single night, as long as there's a scoreboard. It's just, again, I don't know how you manage these kinds of things emotionally, internally, whatever it is that is going on. And then, you still have you have to go do your job. So the dynamic has changed.
A couple of things on that. I mean, Mitch is no stranger to the Spurs organization. He's been in the Spurs since 2016. He knows how they operate. He knows how everything works. He's very much a Spursian guy. And he's a rising star when it comes to coaching in the NBA. He's done numerous other head coaching interviews. He's going to be a head coach in the NBA very soon. So it's good for him to get, a little bit of tread on the tires, I guess.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of action on the sidelines. Not obviously the situation or how you would want to get that action on the sidelines in the regular season, but he's been the G League coach. He's been the Summer League coach. He's filled in for Pop before. So I have no problem with Mitch, at least steering the boat in the right direction and keeping
his
it go
demeanor,
down.
his temperament, he seems like he's the right person for this opportunity.
Yeah, and it was also a lot of times when people have filled in for Pop in the past, it's been whoever was scouting the next couple of teams would end up being the head coach for those games. We've seen Becky Hammond do it. We've seen Tim Duncan was the interim for one game, whatever it was. We've seen kind of those. Mike Budenholzer did that before. This time, though, was a little different. It seems that Mitch Johnson is the go-to assistant coach. Like, he is going to be the coach in waiting. He is the guy who will fill in if this is to ever happen again and all that stuff. He wasn't just the guy who was scouting the Clippers and the Wolves and the Rockets. So that is gives you a little bit of confidence that he is that kind of next up. You mentioned Chris Paul as well. I think his leadership comes to be even more important now because people are going to be looking for that veteran that, okay, Pop isn't here. What are you seeing on this? How do we get this corrected? Maybe in CP3, who's already vocal and is always vocal.
Now, to your
be
point,
even more vocal about that.
Yeah, I think to your point, I mean, there was a series of plays that didn't go the Spurs' way last night. There was a timeout. First guy off the bench and on the floor was Chris Paul, who was on the end of the bench. So, we've all thought about, at some point, you would think Chris Paul coming here was also a seeking mission as, how do they run things? How have they done things here? And, something that he could add to his arsenal if he at some point would like to coach. I mean, you would, I don't know, at least for me, think at some point he's going to make a great coach, right? I mean, with all the knowledge and the way he plays and everything else.
And I mean, the culture and what Pop has built up over the last 25, 27 years, whatever it's been, 28 years, that he's been here. 5-game absence isn't going to make the team crumble. The team's trying to win. The team is going to keep playing Spurs basketball. They're going to keep having defensive lapses right now. They're going to keep missing 3-point shots. That's just the team they are, but they're going to try and have a lot of effort. If we start getting into a 20, 25, 30-game absence, then we can have a conversation about, okay, how does this team progress without Pop? Because right now it's really just bide time until Pop gets back.
Well, I mean, I think to your earlier point, too, is, having an early season injury to a player that was playing pretty well.
Yeah, I was just about to get to Jeremy. So give me your thoughts on Jeremy's injury, because breaking that thumb is a good 20 to 25 game absence.
Yes, and so, if you'd asked me this a month ago, I would have thought, okay, I think this is a player they would be able to, because they've got other good players too, I think, that have earned the right to get on the floor and show that they can, that they've earned the right to have some minutes. But that Jeremy might be one of those guys. A month ago, you're thinking, okay, well, we can afford to be without him for a month.
He's such an enigma.
Yes, but to me, what I saw last night and where I feel like they really missed him was his energy, right? Like, he'll drive you crazy sometimes with Edward Scissorhands in the lane, somebody passing the ball. But if he's bouncing around like a pogo stick all the time, that's infectious, and other guys will feed off that energy. Yeah. There's no way you can't if you see a guy working like he works. So I think last night they missed that energy for sure. I mean, they were flat from the jump, and they never got off the deck.
He's very much a Ja Morant, reckless abandon kind of player. He's obviously talent level is much different, but I mean, in terms of energy, in terms of effort, in terms of I'm going to put my body on the line and win or lose, I'm going to know that I gave 100%. He's very much that type of player, and it's that type of energy that does go to the rest of the team. And so last night they missed his defensive presence, his one-on-one on-ball defense. They missed his rebounding. They missed him getting out and going. Yes, he drives you up a frickin' wall because he turns the ball over like crazy sometimes, and he can't catch, and sometimes he makes bad decisions when he's trying to get it into Wemby or in the lane or whatever it is. But his rebounding, his effort, and the want to is always there, and I feel like those intangibles are what the Spurs are now going to have to make up for in the next 20 games.
And his unpredictability too when he's on the floor, like if you're the other team, he's always the guy that you kind of have a side eye going against because you don't know if he's going to stick out an elbow, a foot, or he's going to do something that drives you nuts or takes you off your game.
Gives him a little bit of an edge.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and he gives the little attitude with the Spurs too, the F Houston aspect of it. He gives them the little bit of nasty. And that's one thing that we like about Chris Paul is he gives them a little bit of nasty, and the nastiness is what you kind of need, especially when you're playing those teams like Houston, which don't like you and you don't like, and they're going to play you physically.
It's okay to have rivalry
exactly.
like this.
That's totally okay.
Yeah, I'm all for rivalries, even in the regular season, and it's okay to draw up interest in that regard, and then take some of that nasty to the floor with.
But I think you saw that in the Clippers game. I mean, when they start out, they're up 40-14. 40-16 or whatever it was after the first quarter, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And then the effort kind of wanes. And then when there's a run by the Clippers, you might not be able to hit that shot or get that rebound that gets you the momentum back. And you definitely saw when Jeremy went out the absence there in that game.
Watching that game last night, I
I
ran a couple highlights. Night, I mean, I did a pick and roll thing and 3 guys watched a Rocket go to the basket. And I was like, man, I'm not watching this anymore. I cut the highlights I needed. And I mean, like, if you don't care, I don't care.
Effort wasn't there last night.
That's right.
I do think it'll help not playing the Rockets now, though. Like, you play them so many times in the first month and a half of preseason and in the season, you're just like, all right, let's play someone else now. Yes, this is a rivalry. Yes, it saves on travel and all that stuff, but it's like, God damn, like, just get away from me.
Now you have Portland coming in here tonight, right?
Yeah, Portland coming in here tonight.
Their own size.
It's a game that they should be able to win. I think last night the Rockets led by 25 at halftime. They outscored the Spurs 66-46 in the paint. Wasn't a good showing. They got out physical. They got out muscled in every sense of the word. And I think the Rockets put in their backups with like 6.5 minutes left. I mean, it was a ass kicking in every sense of the word.
It was.
So Savon Castle did start last night. I thought he played okay. His plus minus isn't going to jump off the page, but I think Steph needs to bring that energy now. He's the young guy. He's the one that, the whole team's young, but Steph needs to, if he's going to be in the starting lineup, he needs to shoot better. I think he was 1 of 5 from 3. 2, he needs to bring that defensive energy, and 3, he needs to bring that energy on the rebounding as well.
They're all struggling from the outside. That's for sure. I mean, what was it, 4 of 16 at one point, or 2 of 16?
Something like that.
Point?
I think they actually ended up with like 39% last night, but it wasn't a 39%. It surprised me when I looked at the box score because it didn't look like that when the game was going on.
I was curious from you guys' perspective, who stood out so far as either like, hey, that guy is better than we expected, or worse?
Jeremy, unfortunately. Like, I thought, and I only say unfortunately because he's not playing right now.
Right.
There was a conversation, a reasonable conversation, that Jeremy was the best player so far this season on the Spurs. Wow. And that that was going on Twitter. I mean, between Spurs fans and Spurs media and all that stuff, Jeremy was playing some of his best basketball this season.
Well, I mean, to your point about plus minus, I mean, Victor Wembanyama has 1 game this year where he's been on the plus side.
Yeah, he has not been playing
the plus
very well.
minus.
Yeah, Victor has not been playing his best basketball. I don't know if that's because he was sick, if he was tired because of the Olympics. I don't know what it is. He's had 2 good games, I want to say, maybe 3. But
there was 1 game where he was at 0 on plus minus. But, again, I know you can make more about one stat, but the thing I've always liked about plus minus is the variables that are involved, right? It's you and 4 other guys that you don't have any control over of being in the lineup, and the 5 guys that you're playing against. But I think over time it does show a team, an organization, how well people play well together. And you can factor in with, other guys in their plus minus too. Over time, you get a sense or a better picture of who plays better together when they're on the same floor together.
Yeah, like we said, the Spurs are playing the Blazers tonight, 7:00. They are 4-point favorites at home. Do you think they win tonight?
Yeah, at home.
The Blazers are bad.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Spurs aren't great right now either. I don't want to say they're bad, but It's definitely.
I hate predicting because you never know, right?
Hey, we were right last Thursday with the Texans, all right?
We were.
We were right being on the Jets. Good for us.
And thanks for the bean and cheese this morning.
Hey, you're welcome.
Man. That's the only reason why I'm here.
Hey, you brought me lunch last week, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think the Spurs win tonight, but what the hell do I know? Let's get to the Cowboys here. So much to talk about there. And I'm going to try not to belabor this conversation because we still have high school stuff to get to as well. So, Dak Prescott going on the IR probably. That's what Jerry said. He's not on the IR as of this very moment, but it does seem like he's going to miss more than 4, maybe 5 games. I think they might be there was reports that they might be thinking about putting him on season-ending IR, or is it the interim IR, the short-term IR where you can bring him back after 4 weeks. They're 3-5 right now, and they're going to have Cooper Rush at the quarterback position for at least the next 4 games. And if you look at it how I'm looking at it, the season could be over in 4 games. The season could be over on Monday. They play the Eagles on Sunday. They are 7.5-point underdogs last time I checked at home. They have been a dog crap team at home this season, as we well know.
Nobody knows better than Zach Hedrick.
Yeah, Zach has been all of the games. And it's just I wanna try to hold out hope that they can turn the season around, but we came into this season thinking that they weren't going to be a great team, and they've just proven us correct time and time again.
Well, I think we said it last week too, right? That's always my hope too, right? You want, as a fan or somebody who covers the team, you want them to be relevant. You certainly don't want to be talking about a team being, out of the playoff picture at the midway point of the season or just past the midway point of the season. So that's my hope every single week that, yes, they can turn it around. I've seen McCarthy turn it around where the odds have looked really, really bleak, and he's playing with, half a roster and all that other stuff. However, we talked about this, I believe, last week. It's at some point you have to see it, right? And I just don't know when this thing is going to flip because of, just what I said about the Spurs game last night. If I wasn't at work, would I be sitting here watching this game? The answer is no. We said the same thing on Sunday when we were watching the Cowboys play. It's like, if you weren't at work right now, would you be watching this product on the field? And the answer is no. You'd be out cutting your grass or pulling weeds or doing something.
The season, I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but the season's over. Like, they're done. They're 3-5. They're going to lose this weekend to the Eagles. They're probably going to be 3-6. You have Cooper Rush starting for the next 4 weeks. At this point, why not start and play a bunch of the young guys and see what do you have? Who can play on this roster and who can't? Did you actually trade a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance, who's never going to play it down for you, or did you trade for someone who can actually take over for Cooper Rush as the backup? Because Cooper Rush is not under contract after this season. Mm-hmm. Neither is Trey Lance. Did you trade for someone who will help you in the future? Why not find out from Trey Lance? Why not find out from these guys, Mozzie, and all the young guys that they need to step up in order to win? At this point, play them, and let's just see, because this season's already lost.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, yes, but again, they're 3-5. They're a couple games out. They got the Eagles this week. I mean, a lot can happen quickly here. I understand your point, and I can't say that it's not valid in some ways, but I don't think we're there yet. I think let's see what the next game holds. Let's see what the game after that holds, and then, make a value judgment then. But I think it's still too early to start gambling like that and looking for next year when there's literally more than half a season left.
All right, Eagles this weekend, win or loss?
I don't know because I don't think the Eagles are that good, to be honest.
Well, the worst player on the Eagles is the best player for the best player for the Cowboys. Excuse me, is Nick Sirianni, basically, because he's the worst coach in the NFL.
You've seen their injury reports worse than the Cowboys, so again, I haven't looked at them and gone, wow, that's a Super Bowl contending team. They've won games, to their credit. That's part of the deal, right? You have to find ways to win when you're not necessarily at your best, what the Cowboys have not done to this point. So, I don't know. If you were asking me straight up, I think the Eagles win. But I wouldn't dig in on that.
Texans next Monday, win or loss? At Cowboys.
Again, so I'm going off of what have I seen from the Texans. Their offensive line, and C.J. Stroud's running for his life the last few weeks. I mean, I don't know.
They're still going to be favored in that game.
Of course they will be. Everybody would be favored against the Cowboys at this point. So, yes, if you're asking me to pick a game as we sit here right now, I say the Cowboys lose the next two. But
and then they're at the Commanders.
Yeah.
That's 3-8. They're staring 3-8 in the face.
Well, if they're at 3-8, then I say what you just said about Trey Lance and the others, then that's when you start kicking the tires on those guys. But not until then.
Well, at least they have Jonathan Mingo.
See, I think you could have some fun with this too, right? Because I think you can play this like the exact opposite of what Houston didn't do, right? So Houston doesn't make a trade, and on the surface, their fans are screaming, God, go out and get us some offensive linemen. Well, their GM is not going to make a trade if he doesn't feel like he's getting value for what he's giving up. Now, Jerry on the other hand. Now, full disclosure, Jerry is going to get creamed either way, right? If he does nothing, he gets creamed. If he does something, he gets creamed. But in this particular case, for a receiver that has 12 catches and was one of the fewest or the least targeted receivers in the entire NFL. No, in the NFL.
I know, but on the Panthers as well.
For a 4th-round pick? That's
hey, you know what
I get you need to do something. You feel like you've got to do something, but a 4th-round pick.
You know what the Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins for?
I know. It was a 5th, right?
You know what the Bills traded for Amari Cooper for? It was a 5th. Yeah. You know what Deontay Johnson went to the Ravens for? A 6th.
Okay, so
we just
right.
I want to say the Cowboys just traded a 4th-round pick for a second-year receiver who was drafted in the 2nd round last year, has been nothing short of a bust last year or since he was drafted, and now they hope that they can reinvigorate his career because they had a 2nd-round grade on him.
Well, I mean, in his defense, the quarterback situation
it's not good. Bryce Young is bad.
But there's a reason why. Well, I mean, if you're Carolina, you got to make that trade, right? So they did. But the good thing is for the Cowboys, he is under contract at least for next year, so you have a receiver that's working under a rookie contract.
I'd argue right now the Cowboys quarterback situation is no better. You have Cooper Rush starting.
Cooper Rush is 5-1 as a starter.
I don't want to be mean about Cooper Rush. Yep. He's a backup for a reason, though.
No doubt, but he's 5-1 as a starter.
That team that he was playing with when he was 5-1 as a starter is much different than what they have.
I know, and he was the only one that threw. He threw a touchdown pass last week too. So
I just thought
you got him in the end zone
to the Dak injury. I thought it was really, really ironic that the whole week they're like, "Why don't you run? Why don't you run at all?" Yeah. This is why he doesn't run anymore.
But this is the problem when you run. This is why most guys, at some point in their career, figure it out pretty quickly. Yeah. This is not a league where you want your quarterback running because this is what happens too. The irony was he gets hurt throwing the football, right? He rips his hamstring off the bone making a throw. I've never even heard of anything like that.
Yeah, he was tired.
Bob, you guys mentioned the Commanders and like running quarterbacks.
Jaden Daniels, ASU.
I just can't believe how good he is. I mean, he is an incredible quarterback.
Bo Nix has better numbers, but
just watch him. Watch him read a defense.
Oh, I know.
And watch the decisions he's making.
No, he's phenomenal.
So incredible.
It helps with when you're simpatico with your offensive coordinator like that too. Yeah. Cliff Kingsbury, all the credit in the world to Cliff. He's doing a fantastic job.
Cliff knows how to take what he has. A young rookie quarterback who has gifts, obviously. I mean, if you were betting on any quarterback in this draft, I think we said it at the time, you bet on a guy like Jaden Daniels because of his size, right? I mean, the way he moves. Yeah. Ask A&M playing LSU last year. He literally was one guy against the A&M defense, and they just could not stop him no matter how many guys they sent to him. Some of that obviously will translate at the next level, but yes, they're doing a fantastic job bringing him along slowly, and I got him on my fantasy team, so I saw it coming.
I forget which year it was. I want to say I went to school there, and I graduated in 19, so it had to have been the 19 season. Jaden Daniels was a freshman at ASU, and they beat a ranked Oregon team in Tempe, and it was one of the most amazing performances I'd ever seen from a freshman. And everybody in the booth was like, "Who the is this kid?" Like, he really just did that with Herm Edwards as his coach. Like I will always remember the feeling of being in that stadium, seeing him pull off that huge upset in take the Devils to 8-4, and it's just like, this kid's got it. And he has shown that time and time again, to your point.
One other just random thought for you. So, I hang out at Twin Peaks on Sundays to watch the game.
You know
this. And everybody, all the Cowboys fans are up there with the Cowboys on most of the screens. But the most boisterous fans in the place were the Broncos fans. They were going crazy on every play, and they were all over the place. I was like, what is going on?
All right, give me 1 minute on the Broncos.
Too much oxygen. Too much oxygen at sea level.
All right, so before we get to that, we're done with the Cowboys for right now. But the Broncos had every chance to win that game last week, but it getting stopped on 4th and 1 when you're going down. On the first drive of the game, throwing the pick that went off of Lil Jordan Humphrey's hands, and then on 4th and 4 on their third drive, missing the wide open touchdown in the end zone. You can't make up for those mistakes when you're playing the Ravens. So the Broncos, final score is not indicative of how actually close that first half was. The defense got freaking creamed though. So hopefully against the Chiefs, it's a little bit better. This week, actually, this Sunday, the Chiefs play the Broncos. And so my house, it's 2 days out of the year that my house is divided because Jordan's a Chiefs fan. So there's a Chiefs bar and a Broncos bar by our house. So we're trying to find either a neutral place, or I'm going to send her to her bar and I'm going to go to my bar, and then we'll figure it out later. I think that's what we're going to end up doing.
Can I recommend Twin Peaks?
Which one? Which location?
Oh, they're all the same, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but which one do you go to?
I go to the one Live Oak.
Okay. I don't even know which one's closest to my house now since I moved. But anyway, let's get to the high school hype squad. So obviously this episode's going a little bit longer than usual, but we didn't have one on Monday.
I'm sorry.
So anyway,
Plus Chuck was late.
Yeah, plus Chuck was late. Damn it, Chuck. But Chuck being late is actually going to help us with this next segment because he was talking to Coach T.P. Miller.
Yes.
So let's get to the high school hype squad. It's the last week of the regular season for high school football here in San Antonio and here in Texas. We'll get right into the TNL Top 10. I'll kind of breeze through these because, once again, there's not a lot of changes. There's only one change in our TNL Top 10. It's from Jay slipping from 6 to 10 because they lost to Southwest, who is our number 4 team. I'm very glad that Carlos didn't take them out of the poll completely. They didn't deserve
Jay's
to fall
had a
out.
good year.
Jay has had a great year. So Piper, 9-0, 6-0 in district. They're probably going to end up 10-0 after this week. They're going to be playing... they don't have their matchup for next week in the first round of the playoffs yet. They play Bernie Champion tonight, 7 p.m. At Warrior Coliseum. They have their chance to secure the District 13-5A D1 top playoff seed with an outright championship tonight. So probably going to be a good game with Bernie Champion. We saw them last week.
Yes.
Bernie Champion's a good team. Alamo Heights, they finished their season 10-0, 6-0 in district. They beat Tyvee last week. 39-7. That's Johnny Manziel's old stomping grounds, Tyvee. The Mules have secured 5 straight undefeated district seasons and are perfect 34-0 in league play during that span.
Absolutely unbelievable. And, I mean, we all went out there when we had him earlier this year thinking we were going to just see one guy. He's pretty darn good, but they got dudes all over the freaking field. Man.
Yeah, they have a real chance to make a run at a state championship. They really do. As long as their defense can get shored up a little bit, their offense is clicking.
Tight ends elite. We all like DK a lot.
Yeah, DK Garza is great. Yeah. Steel is number 3. They're 8-1, 5-0 in district. They defeated Canyon, which this number jumped off the page to me. I didn't see the game, but this number 62-0 against Canyon. And we saw Canyon a couple weeks ago. They are not they're no pushover. And my God, Steel just took them to the woodshed. The Knights have now secured their 4th straight outright district championship. They already know who they're going to play in the first round as well, according to Max Preps.
Yes.
They'll be playing Laredo Alexander next week. Tonight, they play Buda Johnson. Tonight being Thursday, they play Buda Johnson 7 p.m. Or is it Buda? Is it Buda or Buda? Do you know?
I guess it depends on who you ask.
I heard it's Buda.
It's Buda Hayes.
Okay.
Buda Hayes.
This is Buda Johnson.
Buda.
So 7 p.m.
But
Thursday.
I don't know that you can go wrong with Buda.
Lenhoff. Southwest beat Jay last week. Southwest is number 4 in our TNL Top 10 poll. They beat Jay 39-18. They are 9-0 now, 7-0 in district. They're looking to go undefeated for the first time since 2009. I don't think they'll have any issue with that. Laredo Figueroa is not very good. So they play Laredo Figueroa tomorrow, 7:30, Dragon Stadium. They did win their first district title since 2018 with that win over Jay. So congratulations to the Dragons winning that title. Brennan is 8-1, and I have a wild stat for you. Brennan is now 8-1, 7-0 in district. They defeated Taft last week, 69-0.
Statement game.
In district, the Bears have won games by a combined 330 points.
Jeez.
Including 4 shutouts in district, winning games by an average of 47 points a game.
So you're saying we should move them up to the NAIA level?
So I'm saying maybe their district, either they're really good or their district's not very good, and they are very good.
They're very good.
They will play Reagan most likely in the first round, which is a revenge game because that's the only loss Brennan has on their record is a 31-9 defeat of Reagan. At the hands of Reagan, the first game of the season. So that's going to be a really good game. Next week, tonight, they play Warren, which unfortunately should be a bloodbath, 7:30 at Gus. So they'll probably end their season 9-1, 8-0 in district. Smithson Valley's number 6. They're 7-2, 5-1 in district. They beat MacArthur 70-0 last week. The Rangers have outscored 4 opponents 176-33 since they lost to Piper on September 27th by 3 points. They play Victoria East at 7 p.m. tonight. They'll probably play South San in the first round next week. Harlan is 8-1, 6-1 in district. They're 7th in our TNL Top 10 poll. They defeated Warren 63-20. They've qualified for the playoffs every year that they've been a program. The only loss this season was to Brennan, which is okay. no shame in losing to Brennan.
Shout out Coach Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie Salas, great guy. They play Sotomayor tonight, which is a really, really important game as it comes to the district seeding and the playoff seeding. Whoever wins tonight will get the 2nd seed in district, and they will get the top seed in the Division II bracket. So huge game tonight as they play over at Ferris Stadium at 7 o'clock while we're kicking things off over at Comalander.
Yeah, let's have an eye on that one for sure. Right?
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be having you guys come down to the sidelines so I can read some different scores for you guys.
Well,
we have so many games tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
We have so many Thursday night games, all of them with playoff implications tonight. So huge games all over the area. Johnson,
you guys have been doing a great job at TNL too. Just
oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're trying.
Matty Burgundy made a surprise appearance last week.
He was very good last week, dude, by the way. Well done.
Did you see my fake mustache last week?
First I saw just a picture on social. I was like, what in the hell? Okay.
No, it was
actually really fun.
It wasn't the tools, it was the carpenter, dude.
No, it was the tools.
You were really good, yeah. No, it was the carpenter.
I've watched that movie enough to know a few of the mannerisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See? I should have pulled that up and put that up as a picture.
Very well done, dude.
Johnson, thank you. Johnson is 9 in our TNL Top 10 poll. They defeated Churchill last week. They are, what's their record right now? They're 8-1, 6-0 in district. Sorry.
Yeah, their only loss was to Piper.
Yeah, only
There's
loss.
a Piper down.
Yeah, it was the first or second game of the season that they lost to Piper. Jags locked up the district and the top seed last week, so they really don't have much to play for tonight. We'll get into that matchup a little bit here in a minute or two. And then John Jay falls to 10 in our TNL Top 10 poll. They're 8-1, 6-1 in district. They lost to Southwest 39-18. The Mustangs now looking to rebound after their loss to Southwest. They play Southside tonight, 7 p.m. At Gustafson Stadium. So let's get to our TNL matchup of the week. It's Clark versus Johnson. Huge implications for playoffs on the line tonight. As far as Clark goes, let's start with Johnson. As far as Johnson goes, they have already clinched. They're good. They have the top seed in their district. They really don't have much to play for tonight except for an outright district title and not a shared district title with Reagan.
And I just got clarification on that. Regardless, in their district, they look at head-to-head. So regardless, Johnson is the district winner in that league.
Correct.
Regardless of what happens tonight.
Right. Yeah. They have won the district.
They are outright no matter what.
Yeah, they are the top seed.
Yep.
They have the district title, so they do not have much to play for as of this moment. So what we get from them, I don't know.
I think you're going to be surprised because here's what TP told me today. We're treating tonight's game like it's the first round of the playoffs. We want to play like we can play at our best because we're going to have to get used to this starting next week. So he's literally treating tonight's game like a playoff game, and God bless them, we're going to be better for it.
Fair enough. I mean, and when you go to the Clark side, they need to win and they're in. Clark is 6-3. They're 4-2 in district. Coach JL Geist is 34 years coaching, 6th year with Clark. He's done a great job with that program. They basically need to win tonight to get into the playoffs. If they lose, they're out. And
if they lose
and Churchill wins, they're out.
Yes, but if Brandeis loses,
it doesn't. Brandeis is, according to Coach Shaw over at Churchill, who I spoke to on Monday.
All right.
He said it really comes down to Churchill's game against Lee, which they should win, and then Clark and Johnson.
We're going to have to get further clarification because that was not what I got from the intel from Clark, which was if Brandeis loses, they would be out, that there are 2 playoff spots up for grabs.
And 3 teams.
Right. So,
but then it comes down to point differential because
Churchill
beat
Clark
by 19. Clark beat Brandeis by 18. And then Brandeis, I think, beat Churchill by a certain amount. I can't remember.
It's
very confusing.
Clark can get in if they lose. If they win, lose, they can get correct. And if they win, they would be the top seed in Little 6A from their district.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's a lot to play for.
There's a lot to play for Clark. There's a lot to play for that. Basically, that entire district, especially Brandeis and Churchill as well.
Yep.
As far as Churchill goes, I'm doing a really cool story that you turned me on to over there. But we'll get into
God is good, bro.
Into more of that. As far as Clark goes, a couple of really good players on that team. Team captain, SA Sports All-Star Jaden Trexler, is fantastic. Caleb Harringson is at receiver. He's really good as well. You spoke to Mr. Geist. What did he say?
Well, Clark is. I think they're ahead of schedule, dude. I mean, they got 4 starters on offense that are sophomores, and just kind of the way things worked out this year. But no excuses. I mean, Coach Geist has taken that program and elevated it and made them a playoff contender every year. And right now, all of these games for everybody in that league, if you're not Reagan or Johnson, right, it's really a free-for-all on that bottom end. Mm-hmm. And, Clark has really done a nice job positioning themselves. And I don't know that anybody gave them much of an opportunity to be in this position the final week of the season, but they did. And that's the only thing that matters because they're in a pretty good spot tonight. Not a great spot. I mean, obviously, they will be the underdog, and I don't think they're coming off their best game. Clearly, they're not.
They're coming off their worst game. I think even Coach Geist told us that.
Yes.
They're coming off a really, really, really poor showing against Reagan. I was at that game shooting it for Friday Night Fever. It was not a pretty game.
It may have been a little bit the moment was a little too big for them.
Yeah.
But maybe with that experience, there'll be a little bit different version of the Cougs tonight. So regardless, there's a lot at stake. So I would expect both teams, especially Clark, to lay it all out there.
Let's hear from Coach Geist from our conversation with him a little earlier this week.
What's Coach's assessment of how this team has performed throughout the season so far?
Well, we feel like actually we've progressed every week. Although we have made mistakes and sometimes those compound, we feel like overall as a team, we focus on ourselves each week, things we need to get better at, and we've seen improvement throughout.
To be in the position that you're in, you control your own destiny at this point. You win, you're in. How do you get the guys to buy into the fact that it was like, don't worry about who we're facing, you do what Clark is doing? Is this a team that has to be told that and reminded that?
Well, whether they have to or not, we do every week. Every week we talk about it being about us and how we play. Don't focus on who we're playing. We know that week in, week out in our district, it's going to be a tough opponent. In fact, every week we talk about, hey, this is a big game because it's a district game, not because it has playoff implications or anything like that. So that's the approach we always take is, don't worry about what the end result's going to be. Don't look too far ahead. Don't look back. Be in the moment. Focus on now.
And finally, let's not give away any secrets, but it was like, what are going to be some of these keys to victory against a very good Johnson team?
Oh, wow. Well, we've got to do a good job of clock management. We've got to keep the chains moving when we have the ball. Defensively, we've got to do everything we can to try to contain that offense, eliminate explosives, and try to get them off the field. If we can manage the clock, if we can keep the ball moving, and we can get them off the field without explosive plays, we feel like we have a chance to be in it.
All right, as far as the Johnson Jaguars go, T.P. Miller in his third season as the head coach took over from Mark Soto 3 years ago. Played DB over at Texas State. It's really awesome seeing what this team has done with the late exit of Ty Hawkins to the IMG Academy out in Florida. He's, the Elite 11 guy. I don't know why coffee. Anyway.
It's okay.
Anyway, guys.
You can burp. It's all right.
I'm trying belching into the microphone. Anyway, really awesome what they've done without Ty Hawkins. He left late to go to the IMG Academy after going to the Elite 11. Don't know what the story is there, why he left so late and all that stuff. But, I mean, they've really rallied around young guys and Bubba Johnson, their running back, everything running back, who is hilarious, by the way. I interviewed him for our San Antonio Sports All-Star stuff. He's so funny.
He's so good, too.
Yeah,
right?
He's fantastic.
And that's the one guy that I think, Coach Miller was kind of he's trying to direct college recruiters, like, look at this guy. I mean, and they've got some dudes all over the field
he's
there,
a hell
too,
of a player, man.
But, yeah, TP said, I think he's the best in the region, and I think he's the best, probably one of the best in the state.
What's kind of crazy is they have two of the best running backs in that district. Cole Pryor is also at Reagan, and Lauren Johnson, Bubba Johnson is what his mom calls him, at Johnson. And it's just, those are two of the best running backs probably in our area, maybe the two best if you exclude the wide receiver combo of Michael Terry III.
Yeah.
It's going to be really exciting to see them put on a show tonight. And just the way that they've rallied around their new quarterback, Elvis Estrada, who's a young starter, didn't really expect to start this year until Ty Hawkins left after spring ball. So it's like the way they've kind of done that and rallied after that Piper loss is fantastic.
Yeah, Coach Miller had some interesting insight with that too. You're handing the keys to the kingdom to a sophomore quarterback who hadn't, played a varsity game, and yet that Johnson baseball team made a heck of a long run last year, and Coach Miller says, I really feel like, as a freshman, with Elvis getting that much playing time as a freshman on a team that was that good, that really prepared him for what he's seeing now. And I thought that was actually a good little nugget right there that, all this kid knows about is playing in big games, so why would he be afraid of the moment?
Absolutely. Another couple of all-stars on this team I just want to shout out real quick before here from Coach TP. Gabe Simpson, San Antonio Sports All-Star selection at wide receiver, 39 catches, 634 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then I think Sam Draper as well, their starting safety senior. He's 5'10", 170. He was an All-Star selection as well. Academic All-District, so always love to see that. Really smart kid. He's already committed to Grambling State, so I just want to give the shout-outs for the San Antonio Sports All-Star
guy. It's like one of those guys you're like, really? When God was giving out gifts, you got all this?
Yeah, right. Let's hear from Coach TP Miller.
What have you learned about this group of young men? Because obviously there was a whole lot of doubt coming in from everybody outside of this organization with Ty leaving. What did you learn about the character of these young guys that says it was like, we're not worried about it, next man up?
Well, it's a testament to our coaching staff, testament to the 43 seniors that we have on our team. We learned about their character and building the man from the inside out, and this is what our athletic program is built on, passion to build character, and that character building started in January. And so it's just trusting the process that they're prepared for this moment, they're prepared for any adversity that takes place, not only on the field, but off the field and in life.
Has anything surprised you at this point in the season?
Every week is a new challenge. The new challenge this week is Clark. So when you talk about anything surprising, I think the surprising thing is how fast and how quickly our guys are starting to even gel more together. The togetherness, the bond, and it's been a neat thing to watch about not having egos involved. Offense, defense, special teams, our coaching staff. We have a common mission and goal, and that's taking the next step into the Texas playoffs.
Okay, what's keeping Coach up when you watch film on Clark? What are the challenges that they're going to present to you?
The Clark Cougars, they have playoff implications online. So the student athletes, they're going to come prepared. They're going to give everything that they have and leave it out on the field, including the coaching staff. Coach Geis does a tremendous job over there, and I expect the 48-minute ball game, nothing less. And here at Johnson High School, we believe of going into games and playing the game that we love to play and dominating and to win the game. Just because we already clinched playoffs and clinched a district championship, that doesn't mean anything to us in regards to Thursday night. It's another football game, another opportunity to get better, another opportunity to go out there and compete and propel ourselves into the next
Thomas
step.
C. Clark. It's Tom C. Clark. It's like nobody bought the stuff.
Are you telling a story? Why are you pulling this up? Luis. So that's what I looked like last week on TNL during the first two
I'm glad you
quarters.
shaved.
Yeah, really. I shaved at halftime of that game. It was my alter ego, Matt Burgundy. I've watched the movie enough to where I know like every line in that movie, so I was able to kind of throw a lot of them in. It was fun.
And not a fan of the second movie, huh?
I hate that movie. It's awful.
What are you talking about?
The sequel is always worse than the original.
I'm blind.
I
told you I'm blind.
I've watched that movie one time. I barely even know what you're
How
talking
does your
about
ketchup
right now.
taste? I told you I'm blind.
You know what really turned me off
come
of that
on.
movie was the fact that they basically recreated the bear scene from the first movie, but with a shark.
Yes,
Like,
then
I
the
hated
Toby
that.
song. You
I
don't
hated
like
that.
Come on, man.
You can't just remake the movie 10 years later. Like, that's just stupid.
I don't know, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And
Luis probably liked the second one better, didn't you?
Luis, you like the second one? And
Why are we don't have to keep showing it. It's fine.
Again, Anchorman is not a comedy. It's a documentary.
I was really hoping that the Taco Cabana lady, Brianna, was there last week so I could take one of the tacos and be like, I love tacos. Taki talk tacos. Here it goes down into my belly. But she wasn't there, so now I have to do it now. Now, I did close the sportscast on Friday. You'll be happy to know with You Stay Classy, San Antonio.
Very nice. I'm glad you didn't say the other part. I'm Ron Burgundy.
You would have gotten a call, I'm sure.
No, I don't think I would have. I'd have been safe. You would have been gotten a
No,
call.
I think all of us would have gotten calls. Anyway,
Matt is no longer an employee.
yeah. That's all we got for today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Real quick shout out to everybody who works on TNL, especially Chris Koffis. It's been a very fun season. Happy that they have me still on roaming the sidelines and my two alter egos, Matty Bobby and Matt Burgundy, to have some fun. But Chuck and Don do a fantastic job.
And the fellas here, too.
Chris does a great job. All the production people behind TNL do a great job.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really fun farewell on their season 16 of TNL tonight. So
Amen.
that's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, guys. Remember to
he's snubbing you.
download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We will be back on Monday with some more Spurs, Cowboys, and, tomfoolery. But we'll see you then.